on this Father's Day from the Michigan International Speedway, where CBS brings you live flag-to-flag coverage of the mid-race of the $10 million Winston Cup Series for 1984. It's the Michigan 400 today. We had a forecast heavy for showers earlier. That has lessened, and it looks like we're in for an excellent race. Good afternoon. I'm Ken Squire with you as we prepare for our flag-to-flag coverage. Not all the sports news on this Father's Day is pleasant. Swale, the 3-year-old winner of the Kentucky Derby and the 116th Belmont, which you saw just last week here on CBS, died this morning at approximately 6:45. Official cause of death has not been released pending an autopsy. Swale had amassed earnings of more than $1 million, and he was the leading candidate for the 3-year-old of the year. The assistant trainer, Phil Gleaves, told CBS earlier, Swale had a slow 1.5-mile gallop this morning. He looked healthy, but when we took the tack off and began to give him a bath, he just dropped. There is better news from Le Mans for auto racing enthusiasts today. Our co-host on so many broadcasts, David Hobbs, had a magnificent third-place finish, driving with Cyril van der Merwe of South Africa. And a Rondo car with Americans John Paul Jr. and Preston Henn finished second. Winning was Claude Lustwig, and with him was Andre Pasquarolo, taking Le Mans twice round-the-clock venture for the 4th time in his career. Well, there are so many stories here today in this midpoint of the 1984 season. A year ago, 1983 Grand National Champion Bobby Allison was leading the points coming into this battle. This year, he's clutching for 6. He's been outside the top 10. And why? Because the young Lions are really nibbling away at the old established names. New teams, new combinations, new names are really getting the job done. And one of those names is Ricky Rudd. Remember his terrible Daytona crash? Just one race later, Richmond, Virginia. Ricky Rudd proved he had the ability and the courage to run with the very best when he won that Richmond race. And another new name to watch here today will be Geoff Bodine, a brand new team which came out and carried its colors to glory at Martinsville, Virginia. Now, that's not to say that the old teams are just throwing up the white flag and surrendering. At Dover, Delaware, earlier this season, Richard Petty took his 199th step toward that magic and incredible mark of 200 wins, which could happen today. And if it does, our CBS camera is on board. He's standing by on pit road right now with Chris Economaki.
Well, Richard, there's so many stories about you looking for your 200th win starting way back in this lineup today. But to me, the interesting story is that more than a quarter of a century of racing, you quit the family team and hired out as a contract driver. What have the differences been this year?
Well, there's been a lot less headaches from one standpoint. There's been more from other things. But really, the team has really come together. Betty Parrott's done a super team together here. You know, Mike Kerr's been furnishing the money for the situation, and that's one thing that I'm not having to worry about it. So from that standpoint, it gives me really more time to concentrate on working on the car, concentrate on driving the car, and in the long run, I think we'll do a lot better job that way.
Good luck in today's race. And back to you, Ken Squire.
One of the most exciting stories for us to follow all year has been the story of Neil Bonnet. Freak accident, Martinsville, Virginia, passing a lap car, broke his wrist. He thought it was his thumb. And then from there, it's been trouble since. Here's Nashville, Tennessee. In the last 10 laps, he spins. He re-injures the wrist there. Then at Charlotte, North Carolina, World 600, he took evasive action around his teammate, Darrell Waltrip, and he re-injured the wrist. He's been out for a couple of weeks. Benny Parsons substituting for him, but he came back yesterday, and he won round 1 of the International Race of Champions in handsome style. He's driving with a cast on his wrist today, and the question is, can he win 2 days in a row? Mike Joy is with him now.
Neil, you drove 100 miles yesterday. You've made some adjustments to that cast. How is the arm?
Mike, the thing feels awful good right now. We've cut probably 80% of the cast away, so I'll be able to go today. Got a lot of it cut off. Hopefully it'll hold up.
At Charlotte, you opened up the break in your wrist. Driving this race car today, does it jeopardize your future, the future of this race team, or that of anybody on this racetrack?
Well, Mike, I tell you what, the hand right now, the bone's closed completely up. The only thing we're concerned with is an accident could possibly open the break up again. So if I get in an accident, I'm going to find some place to put this thing. But as far as jeopardizing any of the other drivers, I'm feeling awful good right now.
Good luck, Neil. Back to you, Ken Squire.
One of the all-time masters of this game is your co-host for today's broadcast. It is a delight to welcome back the 2-time Grand National Champion, Ned Jarrett.
Well, thank you, Ken Squire, and good afternoon, everyone. Parity is a word that's being used quite often in this sport today, and rightly so. As we go into this race, the 15th of the season, there's a deadlock for the Series Point Championship as they battle for that national title. There's been 9 different winners in the first 14 races this season. And, Ken, there are some drivers that are not included in that 9 who are very capable. Wouldn't surprise me to see a 15th different winner of the season. I mean, a 10th different winner in the 15th race of the season here today. They all like this track. It always puts on a very good race.
And, of course, we have a tie in the championship standings as we go into this event. Bobby Allison and Terry Labonte right up there on top, fighting for every point they can get as we go to the second half of the year. All right, stand by. 40 drivers are now cinched up and ready, and we'll bring it to you all live, flag to flag, on CBS.
This CBS Sports Special, the Michigan 400 from the Michigan International Speedway, is sponsored by Pontiac. Cars that tell the world you're not just along for the ride. Pontiac, we build excitement. Budweiser, for all you do, this Bud's for you. And by AC Delco, General Motors Corporation. AC Delco is the way to go.
Pontiac, we build excitement that you love to drive. Pontiac, we build excitement that you've got to try. Pontiac, built with a feel for the road. Excitement to drive, for feeling
A Ford Thunderbird is on the pole before an estimated crowd of some 75,000 people here in the steepest grandstand there is along the Grand National Tour. That car, number 9, that's on the pole is Bill Elliott's car. Harry Melling from right here in Jackson, the gentleman responsible for the machine. But not just Harry Melling, it's a team story. And let's go to the pole car now. The Bill Elliott team awaits us on the point.
Ken, this is NASCAR's favorite family race team. This is Dan Elliott, who is co-crew chief. His brother Ernie, who builds the engines and puts all the horsepower beneath the hood. There's our driver, Brother Bill, and Father George. And happy Father's Day on behalf of everybody, including your 3 sons, who are here on the pole position. Where does all the power come from to put this car on the pole 1 mile an hour faster than Jeff Bodine and a second faster than any other Ford here?
Well, the car's been running well since we've been here, and it's really hard to say where it all came from, but we've all been working hard back at the shop, and it all came together.
What are your thoughts as you await the drop of this green flag? Can you stay in front of this fast field of cars?
Well, it's going to be hard to say. There's a lot of good competitive cars behind me. We'll just go do the best we can and hope things come together.
Bill Elliott's looking for his first Super Speedway NASCAR win today. He and his 2 brothers would like to celebrate Father's Day in Victory Lane. Let's go to Chris Economaki back at the 3rd row of the starting grid.
Every year along pit road, there seems to be a story that rankles, riles, and infuriates the contestants. And this year, that story has been fuel mileage. The cars are allowed to carry 22 gallons of fuel, and historically, that's carried them 98, 100.
Is Dean Combs and Phil Parsons, the rookie. Row 13 is Tim Richmond, and along comes Unadilla George's Ken Reagan. In row 14, it's Kyle Petty inside, and the only Dodge product, Buddy Arrington, the driver, outside. In row 15, Richard Brooks, car number 90, and Tommy Ellis up from the sportsman ranks. In row 16, the Canadian Trevor Boyce and a former Rookie of the Year, Ronnie Thomas. For row 17, it's Morgan Shepherd with a new number today, and also Doug Heveron. In row 18, Mike Alexander out of Tennessee and rookie candidate Clark Dwyer from Colorado. Row 19 is D.K. Ulrich and McKeesport, Pennsylvania's Tommy Gale. In row 20, Elliott Forbes Robinson and Dave Simcoe rounds out the field. 200 laps, 400 miles, the issue today in this $378,000 race, and the command to fire the engines is just about to be given.
To build the strength up in the left hand because you did so much pulling. Dale Earnhardt rolling out. So, we're down to it. Neil Bonnet, Richard Petty, Dale Earnhardt carrying your CBS cameras for our flag-to-flag coverage today.
This Bud's for everyone who takes the power and sends it down the line.
This Bud's for you. For all you do, the king of beers is coming through.
Yeah, just for you. That distinctively clean, crisp taste that says Budweiser.
For all you do, this Bud's for you.
They call him the king because Richard Petty knows what it takes to win.
Going into the last lap, there's no better place to be than in second. Then, if you slingshot at just the right moment, you could be the winner.
Winning, it's a part of men like Richard Petty.
And that winning spirit has helped Union 76 fuel more winners than anyone else. That winning quality rides with you every time you ride out of a Union 76 station.
Go with the spirit.
The winning spirit.
Spirit of 76.
You know, back in 1941, AC invented the copper core spark plug for planes like my P-51 Mustang.
Test pilot Chuck Yeager for AC Delco.
It's amazing that some of today's cars work so hard. They need that copper core technology also.
And AC's got it.
AC has fire ring spark plugs for most all cars. Then they're engineered to give you up to 30,000 miles of reliable performance. AC Delco, the smart parts. For 40 years, they've never let me down.
One more lap, and we will be under green at the Michigan International Speedway. You see the crowd waving as Harold E. Kinder indicates there is one lap before they turn them loose.
The next time they come around, Ken, it'll be for the money. And in a 400-mile race as opposed to 500, they're going to have to go pretty flat out from the start to the finish. Of course, this is a track that lends itself to that kind of racing, and I think we'll see it all afternoon.
Looks like Hickory on Saturday night in the old days, Ned.
Well, I'll tell you, it's really gratifying to see the crowds that are turning out for NASCAR racing this year.
A lot of enthusiasm displayed by this gigantic crowd as we get ready to start with Bill Elliott on the point and Jeff Bodine riding outside of the front row. Winner of his first Grand National race earlier this year, and here you see the rest of the field. One brand new name in the race. race is the driver way back in that shotgun position in 40. It's Simcoe, who is a local driver, lives not too far from this beautiful 2-mile facility.
Has to be a big thrill for him to have just made the field.
Neil Bonnet's car getting set for a start. Just a magnificent performance by Bonnet in the Warner Hodgson Jr. Johnson car yesterday. Was equally prepared Chevrolet Camaro Z28s custom built, which we'll see next on CBS in the International Race of Champions Round 2 on the road course in Cleveland, Ohio. You see them scuffing in some heat on the tires.
That's what they're doing when they're moving the car from one side of the track to the other, is getting the tires, the newness scuffed off them, and getting a little heat built into them, because when they go into that corner the first time down into turn 1, they want them to be heated up a little bit.
You're in the throne room of the king, Richard Petty. Will this be the day for that 200th win? Nothing like it has ever happened in motorsports before. It could happen today. He is qualified well back in the field, as you'll recall. Starts back in 21st.
But that should not be a deterrent for him, Ken. He started farther back than that and has won, so I don't think he's too concerned about that.
34th at Daytona, and we saw him go up in front before he lost an engine in the Daytona 500. Last year with you for a stock car racer on CBS. All right, pace car is in. Ladies and gentlemen, live flag-to-flag coverage on CBS of the Michigan 400 is breaking toward the line, and they stack 4 wide as the crowd rises to its feet. Sends them up. Elliott in front.
Ken, some people thought the Chevrolet might accelerate a little bit better on the takeoff, but not so. Elliott has really surprisingly moved away.
That number 9 qualified 1 and an 8/10 second faster than any other Ford in the field. Just an incredible performance by this little team from Georgia. The Elliott family in front. Looks like they're going to be there at the end of lap number 1.
He has pulled away amazingly because drafting is so effective on this racetrack, and yet for him to build up that much of a lead on the first lap just indicates how much power he does have under the hood.
The story is, though, that that car eats up more fuel than almost any other car on the track, and range could be a factor here today.
It does burn more fuel. It was indicated last week in Pocono, Pennsylvania, when he was running right with the leaders and then lost it right near the end when he had to make a pit stop.
Elliott first, Bodine second, but here on the inside comes Neil Bonnet, digging down to the bottom and going for second place. And there's Richard Petty scooting through traffic.
And he certainly is in a lot of traffic back there. He'll work his way through that very carefully. You see Jody Ridley's car right in front of him moving around as he tries to maneuver by the David Pearson car on the inside.
Pearson started in the 16th spot. And now you're back inside Neil Bonnet's car. And we are going down into turn number 3. He's riding third. That man just in front of him is
Darrell Waltrip,
old teammate. Darrell Waltrip. There's not much chumminess on that team when they get out here and get ready to race.
They competed against each other just as hard as they do against the rest of the field. One thing that helped Elliott to get that much of a lead, besides the horsepower that he has, is the fact that they were racing side by side for that second position. Now that they've sprung out a little bit, it'll be interesting to see if they can draft up to him.
Will Bill Elliott sustain and be the 10th different driver to win in the first half of the season? Or could it be Bonnet or Earnhardt or Harry Gant, for that matter, or Buddy Baker? Back straightaway, here is Richard Petty closing in number 43, moving up again on Jody Ridley. Very fine driver, former Rookie of the Year Ridley. Right behind him comes Richard Brooks. Now he's by Ridley.
Very good move. We saw him the last time, Ken. He was right on Ridley's bumper, so he sort of set him up, but this time was able to move around. Now he's moving around Dale Earnhardt very easily on the outside. His car's handling.
Down to the start-finish line. And there are your inside Earnhardt's car, the Chevrolet, prepared by Richard Childress. Richard Petty is up another spot.
No surprise to see him moving this quickly, although he'll do it carefully, but he still is more aggressive than sometimes appears. He drives very hard, even though he's been at it for more than 20 years.
Ridley on the inside, down at the bottom. Petty is now 12th overall. Remember, he started 21st.
Another driver that has moved up is Dick Brooks, who has moved from 29th to 16th in just 3 laps.
Bill Elliott stays in front. Elliott, last time he sat on the pole, he'd sat on the pole 3 times, was right here, Michigan International Speedway.
He likes this racetrack perhaps better than any super speedway that he runs. The turns are a little flatter than, say, Daytona and Talladega. Handling is a very important factor here. Of course, horsepower counts too, but now Darrell Waltrip is beginning to move in a little bit on it.
Petty back in 12th. He has moved around Baker. Right in front of him is Lake Speed. Shuffling back around that Petty car. There you see him, red and blue colors. Back with Elliott. And Elliott continues to draw away. No, not drawing away now. Closing ground. Second place car, Darrell Waltrip. Waltrip has finished first or second on every circuit that the Winston Cup Tour travels to, but he's never won this race. And there you see the interval between first and second. There's Lake Speed getting back underneath Petty as they've been going at it for a while. Lake Speed in the Haas-Ellington car.
Here's a youngster that has really been running good this year, Ken. He sat on the outside mold of Pocono last week and has turned in some very good performances. He's due for a win one day.
Look at Elliott drop to the inside as he goes after the Dale Earnhardt car. Let's go to Mike Joy in the Bill Elliott pits.
Ernie Elliott, almost everybody on this circuit uses a special engine to qualify. You guys are on the pole with your race engine?
Yeah, we're running a race motor. We don't have qualifying motors. Everything we do, we try to build just good race motors. And, our program is such that, if we've got a good motor, we try to incorporate that into all of our race motors. So, therefore, we just try to stay away from qualifying motors.
Ken, that engine's a rocket out at the head of the field. Let's just hope it's not a hand grenade.
Petty trying to move around to take 10th position as they come down the main straightaway. He's up on the outside. They come by this gigantic throng. And here's Petty getting around Cale Yarborough on the high side and Lake Speed as he tries to pick up a couple more slots.
He's not bashful about going up near that wall as he goes into those turns.
He's always liked the wall. Remember at Daytona in the Tri-Oval, he's the one that would always stay the highest. Richard Petty getting by Cale Yarborough, defending champion. There's the leader, and closing is Waltrip in number 11.
Of course, Walker being tied for the point lead going into this race. He'd like to pass Elliott early in the race, pick up 5 bonus points that's awarded to any driver who leads the race.
Waltrip and Labonte tied in the Winston Cup point standings going to this 15th race with 2,067 points equal. Down into turn number 1. Closing, ever closing, is Waltrip. One car in the pits.
That's Doug Heveron, one of the rookie contenders on the circuit this year. He's certainly a big winner from short track competition. Having a little bit tough here today. First car in the pits.
7 laps complete. They are working lap 8. 7 complete. And Waltrip continues to inch along toward the board out in front. And here's Richard Petty. Now, this Petty car that you're riding in right now was the car that gave him his 199th win at Dover, Delaware. Here is Petty up on the outside trying to clear car number 15. Ricky Rudd in the Budmore Ford. And he's getting there. Petty still climbing through traffic. Here's a report from Chris Economac.
Junior, Darrell is gaining on Elliott. Where do you want him to be now? In the lead or to sit in second place?
Well, right now, Chris, it's early in the race. You don't really know what the later race strategy is going to be. I just think that Darrell must be in pretty good shape, or he wouldn't be able to reel Elliott in this early in the race, because Bill's car has been exceptional fast all week long, and for him to be able to chase him down this early in the race, he's got to be in pretty good shape.
So you're letting him run his own race now?
Right now, sure.
Okay, back to you, Ken.
Richard Petty has just moved around Neil Bonnet, and that puts him in 8th.
So while one of the Junior Johnson cars is battling for the lead right now, as we see he has caught Bill Elliott, Neil Bonnet, who started in 3rd position, is sort of backpedaling through the field.
And as you watch this battle for the lead, another guy who is really showing his muscle, as he did yesterday, now you're back with Neil Bonnet's car. You see Lake Speed has moved around, and there's Cale just in front of those two. Another car which is now up to 3rd, and one you'll have to follow all day, the Jackson brothers, Johnny Hayes car. Benny Parsons is in 3rd place.
Benny has been running very hard all year long.
More of our live flag-to-flag coverage on CBS of the Michigan 400 after these messages.
Once it was hard to find good-looking slacks to fit everybody just right. Then men's stores began selling Sansevelt slacks and Jamar slacks. 36,000 different sizes, fabrics, colors, and styles to fit any man better, including you. Sansevelt slacks, Jamar slacks, from Jamar Ruby.
You think I'm tough? This is tough. TR3.
Ain't no wax. Man, this stuff is something else. TR3 goes on easy, stays on hard. Makes your car beautiful. Like me. TR3 fights off the enemies like dirt, sun, and grime. You want tough? This is tough. TR3. Take it from me, Mr. T.
We'll be back with the action at the Michigan 400 after this word from your local station. Next Sunday, the world's top Formula One drivers head downtown for the Detroit Grand Prix. Live flag-to-flag coverage next Sunday on CBS Sports. This is CBS.
In the next 5 years, 1 home in 23 will be damaged by storms. 1 in 21 by fire. But it's even more likely your home will suffer a different disaster, the hidden destruction of termites. Don't risk it. Call Orkin.
Call the Orkin Army, #1 against pests.
For your free termite inspection, call America's Choice.
Call the Orkin Army, #1 against pests.
You hear those knocks? Texaco asked me to drive up the steepest hill we could find to show you what happens when you refill your tank with Texaco Super Unleaded with Superstar Power. Stronger octane to help knock out knocks in virtually all cars using unleaded gasoline. Watch. Same engine, same hill, but the knocks are gone. If you're not getting performance like this, move up to Texaco Super Unleaded and get Superstar Power for more car power.
Happy Father's Day from Channel 10.
100, we are at the 12th lap. Caution came out at lap 10 for an incident in turn number 4. Not serious. The 1983 Winston Series champions of the short track driving the Dave Marcus car number 71. It was Mike Alexander. And getting himself in trouble, looping to bring out a caution flag. Let's go to Mike Joy, who is standing by in the pits as you see the Alexander car looping in turn number 3 to bring out the first caution today. Mike?
Doug Richard just reached in and made a chassis adjustment on Neil's car. Doug, what did you do with that ratchet reaching in the rear window?
Well, the car was real tight. We set up on real old tires yesterday, and I just came in, I took a little wedge out and filled them full of fuel.
Let's go to the Richard Petty pit. Chris Economaki.
All right, thank you very much, Mike. It's a surprising pit stop here because the crew changed 4 tires on Richard Petty's car after a very short distance. But Petty picked up 13 positions. Buddy Richard was doing extremely well. What do you have for breakfast today? I wonder. He gained 13 places, but then you changed 4 tires. Did you need 4?
Well, yes, we want to be competitive, and we felt like 4 tires right now is the way to go. Yeah, what he had for breakfast this morning? He had some eggs cooked with STP.
There you go. Okay. Buddy Petty, Richard Petty's crew chief, and a very happy mood. Back to you, Ken.
And you are with Richard Petty in car number 43, and he has that rag back in his mouth. He's the only one that does it, but it seems to work for him.
It certainly does, Ken. He has done that for as many years as I can remember. I raced against him in the early 60s for many years, and he did it then and is still doing it. So whatever it is, you're right, it works.
Well, he says it gives him some moisture out there. Sure looks like a puppy running away with something.
Ken, you mentioned the fact that they changed 4 tires, and the fans might wonder, well, why would they want to put on new tires? They've only run 12 laps. Certainly they would not wear them out. That is true. They don't wear them out. But once the tires get heated up, they slow down a little bit. And when one car comes in to change, like Buddy Parrott says, if you want to stay competitive, you best come in and change also. So that's exactly what they've done. Many times after those tires cool off, they might put them back on the car later in the race.
Elliott Force Robinson, car number 2 on pit road. 1 lap to go. We'll be back under green. And car number 97 also has his hood up now. And that is the Dean Combs car, the guy that was the 5-time champion of the International Sedan Series. Next week, the Detroit Grand Prix, Formula One cars through the streets of Detroit, and you'll see it live, flag to flag, here on CBS. That's next Sunday, Formula One World Championship Racing, right here on CBS. Well, after these pit stops, it sugars off like this. With a lap to go, they'll be coming around to complete the 15th as they take green. The pace car is ready to come in, and car number 22, Bobby Allison, will be the car up front.
A smart move on his part, Ken, at least to pick up 5 bonus points that we mentioned earlier. By leading this race, he now has those 5 bonus points. Of course, he don't have fresh tires.
As they come to the line, here is Allison in first. Second place car is the David Pearson car, and Benny Parsons is in third. In fourth is Tim Richmond. Joe Rutland is in 5th as they head down into the first turn.
There we see Ricky Rudd on the outside of Benny Parsons in the car number 55. That's Harry Gant that's running up in 3rd place in the car number 33. And Parsons did stop. He's trying to come back up in the pack.
Back straightaway. Getting a little bit of length out here. Two-time winner, Bobby Allison up in front. Car number 97 is back on pit road. Dean Combs another time. Here's the battle for the lead. And David Pearson, winner of 105 Grand National races, is right there in 2nd spot. It's been a while since we've seen him win one.
Yes, it has, but he's still capable. He's very capable. He's fielding his own car now. He makes a move to the inside of Bobby Allison. He wants to lead this race. Here he is, a very good move. He moves right down on the inside. His car stuck when he went into the turn, and he has the lead.
David Pearson, who started winning in 1961 at the World 600 and scored his last win back in 1980 at Darlington, fighting for first place.
Awfully close as they came off of that turn. Allison moves back up on the outside and regains the lead.
And here comes Harry Gant. Gant looking for the first win of the year. Here's Tim Richmond on the outside.
Richmond, of course, is one of the most aggressive drivers on the circuit, so he'd like to get his Pontiac up there and battle with Allison.
Richmond, who won a race this year in North Wilkesboro, looking tough. Back comes Allison for first place, Richmond for 2nd, Pearson falling to 3rd, Harry Gant stays 4th. That spot is Joe Rutland.
When Richmond moved on the outside of Pearson, that tended to slow Pearson down a little bit because they were bursting more wind apart. He's just trying to get around Pearson on the outside, but now he can't do that.
Here's Neil Bonnet up behind Benny Parsons out of turn 2.
They made that adjustment on Bonnet's car, and it looks like he is handling better, or at least running faster than he was earlier. You see Parsons go by Ron Bouchard on the inside.
In the 10th position is Bonnet. He's getting some pressure down on the bottom as they come around, and that's 44. Terry Labonte taking that 10th position away and relegating the Neil Bonnet car back to 11. Leaders. Allison finishes another lap in front. Tim Richmond in 2nd. 18 laps complete. Here's number 9, Bill Elliott, trying to move around car number 55. 98. Rutland getting passed by Waltrip, and now the 55 car of Benny Parsons. The black car moves up another spot. Parsons has also won a race this year in Atlanta. Change of leadership. Richmond goes out in front. Tim Richmond at 1st, Allison in 2nd, Pearson's in 3rd, Gant's in 4th. In 5th it is Waltrip. He's getting some pressure, Ned.
Yes, he is. Richmond started back in the 25th position, Ken, so he really has made a charge to the front. That car is working much better than it did here in practice, but Allison wants to lead back.
Side by side, Rutland on the outside, and Parsons in that flock of cars as they continue to gambit around this 2-mile track. Back 18 degrees here in the corners. There's Richard Petty looking back at Neil Bonnet.
Ricky Rudd now. Ricky just pulls up on his back bumper. He decided he'd draft Petty a little bit. He perhaps saw how fast Petty was running before they made that pit stop. He said maybe he's a good man to hang on to.
Wanted his pictures of him.
Yeah.
Here he comes up the inside. Ricky Rudd. What a tremendously valiant young man this guy is. Walked away from a crash that put a lot of people into retirement. He got right back in, went out and raced the Daytona 500, then came back and won. Neil Bonnet looks up at Richard Petty. And there's Jeff Bodine just slipping in there.
Bodine has run, as we said, he won at Martinsville, but he run awfully strong now in the super speedways. Of course, starting on the outside pole here today, he'll be a contender for the win in this race.
Harry Gant falls back into the tail end of this lead pack. Some 10 automobiles running up in front. Falling at 11. Back comes Richmond another time. Better than 170 miles per hour. They swap the lead going back to turn number 3 and give it to Richmond for a moment, but maybe not for long. Here comes Allison.
This is the kind of racing that fans in Michigan have become accustomed to. The track just lends itself to fantastic racing, good drafting, good high speeds. The driver really comes into play on this track perhaps as much as any that they run. Of course, horsepower counts too. Here's Allison trying to come back on the outside, and Waltrip trying to make his move.
And down on the inside, you see Parsons back in 4th. Pearson's in 5th. Bill Elliott is in 6th. Rutland is in 7th. Take that back. Moving up the inside is the number 44. And Labonte, who's fighting for that championship, takes over 7th. Back they come. Car Cars beginning to change color a little here. And here comes Benny Parsons. Just slips down to the inside. And that Jackson car, Johnny Hayes' machine, just thunders through for the lead.
He made it look easy, but here comes Richmond right back. He's going to put the bumper to it. Well, almost.
Bobby Allison lies third. Here they are from the stands. And having trouble holding that draft on the inside at all. Falling back is car number 27, Richmond, up to fourth. Up to fourth comes Bill Elliott, the Ford that set on the point. Now down to the inside comes David Pearson, looking as good as he's looked all year. Here is that Richmond car in fifth. Benny Parsons out in front. 21 Grand National victories to his credit. Parsons, one of the most likable men in the game. And look at Elliott coming on the outside, and back comes Richmond on the inside as they go into third and fourth position. Bobby Allison, the number 22, the white car, in that second spot. Here comes Terry Labonte up under the yellow and white car of Ruttman. Coming around this time, they'll complete 23 laps.
Now here comes Elliott up on the outside of Bobby Allison. Let's see if he can make that move as he goes into turn one. Yes, he does. He's able to stick right up there. Of course, he has fresh tires, but down on the inside.
3 wide.
Is Tim Richmond. He's aggressive. He don't mind sticking it in there. But Joe Ruttman hanging right in there. Car number 98. That's the yellow and white car.
And Petty's on his way back up into it, too. Richard Petty after that pit stop back. But look at the 55 pull away from Richard Petty's car. Here's Cale Yarborough as they run fender to fender in our live flag-to-flag coverage here on CBS. You're back with Richard Petty again, seeking win number 200.
He has a lot of cars that he can draft off in front of him. And some of them are running low, some of them are running high, so that gives him some good air to race in.
Richard Petty is now ninth. In eighth is Cale Yarborough, just in front of him as the field moves down to complete the 24th lap. Will be car number 55, Benny Parsons, out in front in our live coverage of the Michigan 400.
You are looking at the most advanced shock absorber that Monroe has ever made. Gasmatic, so advanced that in testing, people preferred the Gasmatic ride 3-to-1 over conventional shocks.
The difference was dramatic in the control, the stability, and the comfort.
A ride so superior, if Gasmatics don't give you the best ride ever, we'll replace them no charge. Monroe Gasmatic shocks and struts for the best ride ever, guaranteed.
To everyone who loves the thrill of Grand National racing, Budweiser rolls out with Double Thunder. NASCAR legend Junior Johnson leads two of the hottest teams to hit the circuit.
This Bud's for you, for all you do. The king of beers is coming through.
The Johnson, Hodgson, Budweiser Chevys are roaring your way with Double Thunder.
For all you do.
This Bud's for you.
Most guys spend Sunday taking it easy. Not me. When I'm racing a Bandit, there's no taking it easy. So I'm out here early before a race trying to relax. Just me and my scope. Just a pinch gives me real tobacco pleasure without lighting up. And that wintergreen flavor's a real winner.
Go smokeless with Skoal or Copenhagen. A pinch is all it takes.
Thanks to Bic, I have the shave of John McEnroe, but I still have the serve of Elliot Kaminsky.
John McEnroe and I have two things in common. Make that one thing. We both shave with Bic.
And so should you, because Bic is beautiful, smooth, close, comfortable, and only 20 cents.
Let's play. I'll be John McEnroe. You're not even old enough to shave.
Bic can improve your game, but it can improve your face.
27 laps are now complete. Benny Parsons is leading in the Michigan 400, our live CBS coverage. And the first pit road rhubarb is now developing, and it is centered on Tim Richmond.
Yes, we saw him a moment ago battling for what we thought was the lead, but he's being reported as a lap off the pace, according to NASCAR. They said that he pitted too early on that caution and came in before he got caught up to the field, and the lead cars went around him. Tim Brewer, the crew chief, and the rest of the crew there don't agree with that, but that happened on lap 13, so what he's been trying to do is to battle to get back in the lead lap.
As we see them now. There you see the black and white number 55. That is Benny Parsons. Spent a lot of time in Detroit. Was the Automobile Racing Club of America champion in the early days. Now leading in this event, Elliott has gone to second. Bill Elliott has taken the Ford Thunderbird back up into the second position. But the car everyone is following here now is 55. Benny Parsons in the Chevrolet. Look champion, the crew chief, and that car just made an amazing move and it took the lead. Here is Bobby Allison in the white and red number 22 as he goes with that Buick trying to close for second spot.
If they hook up together and get in the line, they should be able to run Benny Parsons down.
Here's Chrissy Conamacky.
Okay, I'm here in Tim Richmond's pit with crew chief Tim Brewer. Tim, what's the problem?
Well, NASCAR's claiming we're a lap down right now, which I don't understand how they can say that, because when we came into pits, I think it was lap 13, we were 8.5 seconds behind Elliott leading the race. When the leaders took the caution flag, evidently nobody slowed down to run wide open all the way around the racetrack. If that's the case, they left us sitting in the pits.
Steve, what are you going to do about it?
Run for your life, try to get your lap back, so you can do it this time.
Okay, the trials and tribulations of the pit crew. Back to you, Ken.
The battle for second place continues between the Ford Thunderbird of Bill Elliott and that car number 22, the Buick of Bobby Allison. Here they are back into three, and Allison tries them down the inside. Meanwhile, Benny Parsons stays up in front. Benny Parsons spent a great deal of time around Detroit, worked on his dad's taxi cabs, his uncle's taxi cabs here in Motown capital. What does racing in Michigan mean to Benny Parsons today?
Oh, it is, because this is where it all started about 21, 22 years ago, in and around Detroit, Mount Clemens Speedway, Flat Rock Speedway, and I know that there's a lot of people in the stands that went to those races 20 years ago and cheered, and hopefully they're still cheering today for Benny Parsons, and yes, it is a very special place.
And he's making it very special right now for all of his racing enthusiasts across the country. Benny Parsons is out in front, the 1980 winner of this event, winner of 21 Grand National races.
Ken, he was somewhat labeled as a conservative driver back in the earlier days, even though he's the past Winston Cup champion and has a good number of wins, including the World 600 at Charlotte, the Daytona 500, as you mentioned, he's won at Atlanta this year. But they're saying that he's more aggressive now than he used to be, but sometimes you wonder if it isn't the automobile that he has that makes him look more aggressive. He's, of course, just running a limited schedule, so he's running to win in every race that they run, and he seems to feel very comfortable at it.
Yesterday, he gave one of his finest performances in the International Race of Champions. He started dead last, 12th, and he wound his way through that celebrated field to finish in second place to Neil Bonnet. Excellent run in round one. Again, July the 7th will be round two. We'll be with you live from Cleveland on the road course. And the way they have it this year, they handicap the men that finish up front out back. That means he'll be starting next to last. Parsons come Cleveland July 7th. You're back with Richard Petty, and there's the 98 car of Joe Ruttman staying right there with him.
Ruttman was taking a low line, but he came right up in front of Petty. Of course, it's interesting how we see different drivers taking different lines around this track. Now Petty moves right up on Joe Ruttman. He set him up, got in the draft, and moves right past on the inside. It looked like he picked up 100 horsepower, but he just got in the draft. But then once he got up beside of him, that changed. Of course, Terry Labonte was down on the inside, so he had nowhere to go.
Battle for 8. Ruttman is in 8. Petty is in 9th. They're working the 33rd lap. Back straight away. Richard Petty in that 9th position. Everyone here chasing this man, number 55, Benny Parsons, in the Michigan 400.
I'm Mr. Goodwrench. You know what starts when your engine starts? Engine wear.
50 strokes, 100 strokes, 200 piston strokes of wear per second. Only a fine lubricant can protect it. Introducing new GM Goodwrench Motor Oil. The motor oil from General Motors that meets or exceeds all GM specifications.
Great protection from me, Mr. Goodwrench.
To keep that great GM feeling with genuine GM parts.
You want to win, you got to practice stopping Sarinsky. Murphy, you're Sarinsky. You dog me, Sarinsky.
You guys getting the hang of this?
Bring out your best.
Your best deserves the best.
Bud Light.
The less filling light beer with a first name in taste.
Sarinsky's got some moves, huh?
Bud Light. Pontiac.
It's been called one of the most innovative American cars ever. Its unique Enduraflex body panels resist minor dents and will never rust. Introducing Pontiac Fiero, America's first mid-engine production car. Fiero, a brilliant example of Pontiac innovation in action. Fiero, only from Pontiac.
We build excitement. Pontiac.
Denerex shampoo and conditioner versus Head & Shoulders regular formula.
On this side, I can feel a tingling sensation. There's something going on up there. And this side, there's not much happening.
Look what you used.
Well, this is the brand that I usually use, and this is Denerex.
Each shampoo has one medicine for dandruff. Denerex adds an extra anti-itch medicine, and Denerex adds conditioner, too.
My hair's a lot more manageable. Feels nice. Goodbye, Head & Shoulders. Hello, Denerex.
Get Denerex, dandruff shampoo that conditions, too.
Tuesday.
You've been jumping around in somebody else's bed?
You've done what I did many times.
Elliot Gould and Elizabeth Montgomery make and break the rules of marriage.
35 of the 200 laps complete here at the Michigan International Speedway with Benny Parsons now out in front. Not a very comfortable lead, but it's enough to put him up to first place over Bobby Allison second. Elliott, David Pearson, and Cale Yarborough staying right there with the leader within striking distance. Little bit of breathing room, but not much. There you see the flock coming after him. 5 different leaders thus far in the race, and the average speed at 143 miles per hour. Just one caution for Mike Alexander, who loses. Today, Marcus car number 71 down in turns 3 and 4. Richard Petty in car number 43. He has moved around and has taken car number 98, Rutland. And as you see, he's closing up now on number 44, Terry Labonte.
Ken, it was back on June the 14th, 1959 that Richard Petty crossed the start-finish line for the first time in his career. The track was the Lakewood Speedway in Atlanta, Georgia, but there was a protest immediately after the race, and the protest came from his dad, Lee Petty, and Lee won the protest. Richard had to wait till later to get his first Grand National victory.
Now there's the Raymock car, number 75, Dave Marcus, Wisconsin native, changing rubber on that car. A 1 2/10 advantage now being enjoyed by Benny Parsons, trying to win it all here today. Here's Mike Joy.
Again, perhaps the most unfamiliar name on that leaderboard is that of Bill Elliott. He's in his late 20s. He's from Dawsonville, Georgia, where his dad owns a Ford dealership. That's why they've steadfastly campaigned the Ford cars. Most everybody feels that he's one of the next superstars on this circuit, but he needs to win a super speedway race. He's got a long string of second-place finishes that they hope to reverse today and build some momentum for him.
Bill Elliott, car number 9, victorious last year, final race of the season. In the rain when they finished it up out at Riverside, California, the last race of the Winston Cup Series. Now, in 1983, in this event, Bill Elliott, that number 9 car, was the man who came through with a very good start outside of the front row. This year he's on the point. He had trouble in the race a year back, but in 1982 he finished 3rd.
And the man out in front of him, or that's leading this race, is the man that he beat in that last race of the season, and they are very good friends. As a matter of fact, Jimmy Parsons is responsible for Bill Elliott being associated with Harry Melling, who now owns that car.
Let's check in on Dale Earnhardt's efforts here, and Richard Childress, car number 3, as he goes after number 98. Looks like he's going to make a run at him here down the main straightaway. This is a D-shape. There you see Richard Petty up a couple more cars. High bank, and you're always in a corner here at Michigan. You're always turning except for the back straightaway. This entire main straightaway is the D. It kind of loops down here into turn number 1.
Makes for an interesting challenge for the drivers, Ken, but it also is so wide, as we can see here, so there are several different grooves that the drivers can use depending on how their cars are set up. Of course, Petty normally sets his car to run high, and apparently Rutland has too.
And you notice that number 44 car just going way down low. Now here's Cale Yarborough pulling up to run with David Pearson. Yarborough and Pearson fighting for 4th. Battle for 4th position, and I think that's Tim Richmond right there. Richmond trying to move around.
Of course, Richmond is a lap down, so he would like to get up and get back in front of the leaders so that if a caution came out, he'd get to go back around and would be in the lead lap.
The report was that Bobby Allison did not pit in that first caution period, Ned, and he's gambling. There's going to be another caution here so he can get in a yellow period to change rubber. Here's Chris Economac.
I'm hearing Bobby Allison said, Gary, you guys passed up the first pit stop. Why?
Well, we missed getting into the pits the first time by. The first leaders came in before they actually got the caution. So if we had waited and pitted the next time around, we would have been about 15th or even worse on the restart. So we decided to pass it up and hope we can make it up later.
Bobby was a little upset last week after an official mistake cost him 5 places. What kind of mood is he in today?
Well, he's pretty aggressive right now. He wants to go out and win the race, and that would do a lot of good for everybody.
Okay, so Bobby Allison, car 22, with his fingers crossed. He needs a yellow flag. Remember now, he's only gone about 112 miles on a tank full. That means when the 60th lap or when the 55th lap comes up, he's going to have to stop, yellow or green. Back to you, Ken.
And take a look at the front of 55.
Yes, that's a piece of paper that is blown on the grill of Benny Parsons' car. Of course, it's shutting off some air the NASCAR officials are aware of. Of course, he's not breaking the rules if the car doesn't heat up.
Here's Pearson coming up on the outside. We've got a car in trouble. It's car number 15, Ricky Rudd. Maybe bringing out a caution here. I'm showing a lot of smoke. Harold Kinder has not reached for the caution flag as yet, as car number 15, the Bud Moore Ford, winner at Richmond, Virginia.
He got it down on the inside of the track very quickly, Ken, and most of the time, if there was oil and water coming from it, especially when you see that much smoke, he would have looped the car, but he was able to keep it under control, but he heads her into the garage area, and it looks like Ricky's going to be out of it.
A mean old vapor trail off the back of car number 15 ends the day for Ricky Rudd in car number 15, and there is no caution, leaving Benny Parsons with a better than 1 second advantage with 42 laps complete. Over Bobby Allison running in second place, and third is car number 9, Bill Ellis, the pole sitter. Elliott, the pole sitter, now in third. The battle remains for the 4th position. David Pearson has it. Cale Yarborough would like to take it away, and running back in the 6th position now is Richard Petty. 7th is Labonte. In the 8th position is Rutman. Switching around out back here, Ned.
A lot of good racing going on all over the track. Now we see Bill Elliott trying to a little different groove, a little surprising after he put those 4 tires on. They must not have been matched quite as well as the first set he has, because he's not handling quite as well as it was. Now let's go to Mike Joy, who is with Ricky Rudd.
In the garage area, Ned. Ricky, what happened with the race car?
I think it burned a bearing or something going down the backstretch. We were just kind of sitting there to kind of hold our own until we had a chance to make some adjustments on the car on the first pit stop, and something let go all of a sudden. I believe it burnt the bearings out of the bottom end.
Did you blow it apart?
Well, it blew up pretty big time. I can't believe they didn't put a caution out, because it scattered it all over the backstretch.
And Ken, look at the side of this race car. You think they're not running out close out there? Look at the wheel marks along the side of Ricky Rudd's car.
In 14 races, he's collected $217,000 this year.
Again, he was in 4th place in the point standings going into this race. Not too far, less than 100 points from the lead, but now he's going to finish last in this race. That's really going to hurt him in the points.
He was just 3 points in front of Bill Elliott in 5th. Elliott making a tremendous sustained drive thus far, holding on to 3rd place as the Michigan 400 progresses toward the 50-lap mark.
Kodak presents your other camera, Trim Print Instant Camera and Film.
First to snap it, trim, print, share it, trim, print, tear it and trim. The ones you like the best. Trim prints are thin, you can cut, you can trim. And isn't that smart? Snap it, trim, print, share it, trim, print, tear it and trim it. And keep it close to your heart.
Trim Print, the other camera like no other camera, only from Kodak.
The elements will come to test your spray paint outside where metal needs great protection. When you choose an ordinary spray paint based on price, you pay the price. When you choose Rust-Oleum spray paint, you choose a paint that fights fading and rust longer than ordinary spray paint. So when the elements come, be ready. When others fail, Rust-Oleum won't.
Firestone announces a different kind of car care. Master Care. One big difference is our computerized diagnostic center, the mastermind of Firestone. It analyzes 200 engine functions, tells us what to fix, tells you what was fixed, virtually eliminating guesswork and unnecessary repairs. The mastermind of Firestone. It's better engine care than humanly possible. Only from Firestone.
Now that I've got some money to invest,
Where am I going to find a good broker who'll care?
Dean Witter understands that any money you're investing is a lot of money to you, so you can be sure they'll care, no matter who you are or how much you have. That's how the Sears Financial Network does business. Visit any Sears Financial Network center or Dean Witter office. The Sears Financial Network. Trust us to make it work for you.
Next, join a Father's Day celebration with sports fathers and their sons and daughters who've made them proud. A one-hour special on CBS Sports. Next.
Coming next, CBS Sports will have a special Father's Day salute to sports fathers and their sons and daughters who have made them proud. And at 5:30 Eastern today, you'll get a different look at the events, issues, and heroes of athletic competition on Sports Inside Out. And to all you dads out there, happy Father's Day from all of us at CBS Sports. As part of that special today, for Father's Day, there's a special feature on Richard Petty, currently out here running in the 6th position, and his son Kyle is running back in 19th. You're inside Richard Petty's 6th-place car at this moment. You see right in front of him, Kaylee Yarborough in 5th. Reviewing a little further down the field, behind Richard Petty in that 6th position, the Ruttman car is in the 7th spot. In 8th position at the present time is Dale Earnhardt. With the 15 car out, that'll move Bodine up to 9th. To 10th will go Lake Speed. Into 11th goes Buddy Baker. 12th will be Jody Ridley. 13th, Richard Brooks. 14th, Harry Gant. 15th, Darrell Waltrip. 16th, Ron Bouchard. 17th, Trevor Boyce. Latest report has Kyle Petty into the 18th position. And Rusty Wallace, one of 7 rookies out here in this race, comes next. Wallace in the number 88 car. Well, there you see the 97 going a lap down, a guy who won some 59 races in his experience with the International Sedan Series, Dean Combs.
Carson's car seems to be handling so well, Ken. He can go anywhere on the track he wants to. When he catches traffic, if he needs to go to the outside, he can do that comfortably. And if he needs to go to the inside, he can do that just as well.
We have another one of the Chevrolets down there on pit road now.
That's the Trevor Boyce car number 48 that's owned by James Hilton. Of course, James, the former driver himself, who won 2 Grand National races.
Meanwhile, holding on in the 8th position, Dale Earnhardt. Going to turn his season around, and he's right behind Tim Richmond. Remember, there's a little bit of a controversy there. Tim Brewer doesn't believe that his driver, Richmond, has gone a lap down. NASCAR says that he has. That's pretty much it. Harry Gant comes onto pit road, car number 33. Gant on pit road.
And this would be a scheduled stop for him, Ken. They've gone exactly 100 miles now, 50 laps, and he was one of those drivers who did not stop during that first caution, and sometimes those things will come back to haunt you.
He was running 15th when he brought the car on pit road. We are now working the 50th lap. We are at lap 50. They're averaging 146.193 miles per hour. With this man, number 55, Benny Parsons, up in front. The 2nd place car remains Bill Elliott.
As we see Benny going around into turn 1, Harry Gant was just coming out of the pit, so Harry did go a lap down on that pit stop under the green.
The story that Chris Economaki alluded to about the range of these cars may begin to be a factor here, because they would like to run as long as they feel comfortable toward a caution flag, pit under a caution. And Travis Carter was saying he thought they could run 120-plus miles an hour in that Gant car, but they were playing it conservative and brought him in right at 100 miles.
Most of the time on that first pit stop, they got to come in a little bit earlier, and then they're able to test their gas mileage to see exactly what kind of mileage they are getting. Later in the race, they might be able to go farther.
See the 7th place car, number 98, which is Ruttman, and right with him comes Earnhardt in the number 3 car. Let's go back to the pits right now.
Okay, Chris Economaki here at Bobby Allison's pit. I just asked Gary Nelson when they were going to bring him in, and he looked at me with a smile, and he said about 55 to 60 laps. And Robert Yates, the engine below, smile, but they're getting ready now to